In a recent article in Psychology Today, Dr. Froma Walsh, one of the leading authorities on family resilience, shares that a successful family system means the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. She goes on to explain that it isn't just that you have a strong mom or dad who holds everything together, but rather that there's a common sense of purpose and mutual interdependency where families are here to support each other and care about each other. When one falls back or needs help, the others will step forward. Today on the WeGo Kids Parenting Web TV network, we have Ami Doshi, proud mom of twin girls and a licensed pediatrician with over a decade in the medical field. She currently specializes in hospital-based pediatrics and the care of children with serious illness, focused on optimizing quality of life for the child and the family. We're talking about creating a resilient family, how families can strengthen their ability to meet challenges as they grow. Here we go. Ami, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be able to talk to you all.
So I wanted to start out by asking you, what made you decide to become a pediatrician?
Yeah, it's kind of funny. When I had started my third year of medical school, I was positive I was not going to go into pediatrics. So it was actually my very first rotation of third year. And then I got about 3 days into it and I just completely fell in love with it. And nothing else really grabbed me the same way for the rest of the year. And a lot of that had to do with the fact that kids are just really fun and that they totally bounce back despite being so sick. And I remember, even back then being really amazed by their ability to smile and play, even though they were stuck in the hospital. So it just made the job a lot more fun.
And now that you're a mom of twin girls, nonetheless, has your approach to medicine changed as a result of becoming a mom?
Yes, absolutely. I think I have a much better understanding and can relate better to a parent's hopes, fears, worries, having experienced parenthood myself. So I'd like to think that I was always pretty open and pretty flexible, but there's no question that becoming a mom myself has made my approach with families much more open. And I've also realized that a lot of the by-the-book recommendations that we give our patients aren't exactly practical as a parent. So I'm sure to provide that kind of counseling alongside the by-the-book recommendations, understanding that we, of course, want to keep our children safe and healthy, but there are always realities that we have to take into mind. And I did not get that until I experienced it myself as a mom.
That's so true. Kids will not always take their medication. They will not always sleep through the night. Parents will not always be on schedule or, being able to do everything that they need to for their kids all the time. So it definitely brings a different perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. Now when I tell my, families, hey, it's just a virus, go home, you're fine. I know in the back of my head, you're still going to be up all night because she's going to be coughing and want to be held. So it's a different perspective for sure.
Exactly. So help us understand what resilient means and what does it mean to create a resilient family?
Sure. So we all in life are going to experience challenges and difficulties. That's inevitable. And resilience is really in our capacity to bounce back from those challenges. And it's a reflection of toughness. And actually, I was just recently speaking with another mom, and she defined it as grit. I really liked. I was like, oh, that's a really good way to describe it. Just how do we bounce back from these challenges that we're going to face? And I think it's important because it gives us a way to kind of protect ourselves from situations that might be overwhelming. It creates a sense of balance when we are going through these difficulties. And we're learning that children who are resilient also tend to be more brave, more curious, more flexible, and then with all of that are able to have a bigger impact on the world around them.
I kind of feel like what you said in the beginning about kids have this amazing ability to bounce back. And I wonder if to some degree as adults we start to take that away from them a little bit, or maybe as they grow older, they start to lose a little bit of that.
Yeah, it's funny. I've given a lot of thought to why it is that children seem to be so inherently resilient without us teaching them to be that way. And almost if we didn't mess with them too much, that might be their sort of natural state. And I I think a part of that goes to the fact that children are very present focused. So it's really all about like, what are my needs right now? And are they being met? And so, yes, even though I'm in the hospital, mommy's right here with me and I have a toy. So they're able to kind of focus on the fact that mommy's with them and they have a toy. We as adults tend to get focused away from the present, into the future or into the past. And so I think that impacts our resilience. So I actually think, children have a lot that they can teach us about how to be resilient.
I love kind of calling that out and that difference between how children see the world and how adults see the world. I think that we have a lot to learn from children, and they're a great reminder about a way to live life that is more fulfilling.
Absolutely.
So for families who are just starting out, what are some simple things that they can do to start building a foundation of resilience?
Yeah, so there's 4 different tools that I would recommend. One is role modeling resilience in our own lives and teaching children that mistakes are opportunities and to face these challenges rather than walk away from them. Another is a family tree of strengths. Third one is laughter as a tool for building resilience. And then the last one is volunteering and community service.
So I believe strongly that most of parenting is about setting the example, teaching by doing. So how is it that we can model resilience in our everyday lives?
Yeah, so we could probably spend a whole hour on just this one piece by itself. But there's a lot of ways in which we can do this for our children. So the first is to kind of let them into our emotions. I think we're really good at letting children see us when we're happy and excited and feeling optimistic, but it's really important to let them see when we're disappointed and when we're sad and how we deal with those emotions, because it lets them know, first of all, that those are a normal part of life, just like happiness or excitement might be. It's okay to be sad and disappointed, and them face sadness or disappointment in their own life. If they see it as normal, then they will approach it with a sense of safety and security that will allow them to maybe experiment a little bit more with different responses, as opposed to if they're approaching it from a position of being resistant or scared. So we can do this really simply just in really seemingly day-to-day mundane situations. Like with my kids recently, I was supposed to have lunch with a good friend of mine, and so I found myself telling my almost 3-year-olds, Mommy's really disappointed that she didn't get to see Auntie Kristen. I was really looking forward to spending time with her, but her work schedule changed, so it's such a bummer that we didn't get to hang out. But you know what? I know that we care a lot about each other, and we'll keep trying, so it's going to be okay. And we do that enough, and I've actually heard my children echo that back, like, it's okay, so it's, they're really little sponges picking up on all of these things we do, and we can do it in a pretty simple way.
I love it when they give it back to you and remind you during times when you don't remember.
Absolutely, yes. They're very good mirrors for what we're teaching them. I think the other way to role model resilience is also to own up to our own mistakes and ask for a do-over and to give them do-overs as well. So I've had to do it with my kids and say, Mommy's really sorry that she yelled at you. I'm going to try really hard to talk more calmly next time. This is something that I'm going to work on. So thank you for letting me learn from this, and I'm really sorry. And again, it lets them know that mistakes are part of life, but we can always grow from them and get better. And then some other ways to role model it are a little bit more fun. So we can engage in free play. So there's so many benefits to free play, as the research is showing more and more. But in engaging in that play with our children, not only do they get a sense of connection, but they get to see us be flexible, be creative. They learn that what they do impacts the things around them. They get a sense of control, and all of these are going to be important in building their resilience. So that's something you can do from the very, very beginning, no matter how young your child is kind of engaging in that sort of free play.
I share your same experience as a first-time mom, and then having triplets also the first time around. I found early on myself saying, I'm sorry I made a mistake. I'm sorry I made a mistake a lot in those really early years. And I love
Yeah.
it now that, they're 4 or 5 years old, and I hear it back that they say, I made a mistake, I'm going to try again. And it's really great to see how that stays with them.
Yeah, that's wonderful. That's exactly what you want them to do, right? Is keep trying. So it's awesome.
I am really excited about this second tool, the Family Tree of Strengths. So tell us all about it.
Yeah, so this is something I came across when I was reading about resilience. And it is to some degree exactly what it sounds like. So you draw a family tree, and each family member gets a branch. And then after writing the name of each family member on the branch, you take turns writing each person's strengths on this family tree. So first you write your own strengths, but then other people in the family get to add to your branch. So they might pick up on a strength that you have that you don't even recognize. And so it's a really fun activity to do in the first place, but then the power of it is then it becomes this tool that you can keep going back to. So when an individual family member is facing a challenge, or the whole family is facing something together, you can go back to this tool and look at everybody's strengths and say, this is something you're really good at. How might that help you get through this tough situation with your friend at school? Or how can we all come together using mommy's strengths and daddy's strengths as well to deal with the fact that we're about to move? So it's really something that you can revisit time and time again. And I'd imagine that the strengths on it will keep changing too. So it's a very dynamic tool in that sense.
And then you print it out and you can frame it or keep it up on a wall somewhere or on the refrigerator and constantly refer to it as you face challenges.
Yeah, exactly. And some of the families I've talked with, they start out by making like a piece of art, so they spend a lot of time in making it a really beautiful tree, and then they add to it. So there's lots of flexibility in what you can do with it, of course.
Oh, I love that. I can't wait to do that with the triplets. It'll be interesting to see what strengths they come up with that they feel are their own strengths.
Yeah, especially at this age that your kids are at. I think I bet you'll be surprised by how insightful they are.
So we talked about role modeling. We talked about the family tree of strengths, and the third you mentioned was laughter.
Yeah, so this one is a gift from the families that I work with. So the children that I'm taking care of in the hospital are amongst the sickest children in the city, really. And I have kind of been paying attention to the different families that I work with and how they all cope in different ways. And I began to notice a pattern that the families who seem to be coping with these impossibly difficult situations really well have this common thread of laughing. They manage to find something to laugh about no matter how dire their situation seems. And sometimes they're able to laugh about something related to their child's health and find a way to, crack up about it. Or sometimes it's something completely unrelated, but they find a reason to laugh together. And so it seemed to me that it couldn't be a coincidence that all of these families who seem to be more resilient in this hard situation all seem to share that trait. So I kind of took that as a lesson of like, okay, laughing is important. It can be a true tool as far as building resilience. Plus, it's fun if we can find ways to laugh together. So.
And do you find that this comes naturally in some families, whereas in some families it may be more of a challenge?
Perhaps a little bit, yes. I think we all have our temperaments and our sort of ways of looking at the world, and that definitely plays into it. But what I found is almost in every family, there is at least one person who this is a strength of theirs, who, they might be the clown of the family and can get everybody else to laugh. And other families where it's sort of the way they all are, just laughing is a part of their normal time together. So to some degree, there is probably a difference between families, but I bet most families can find the person who would be willing to take this on and be the one to make everybody laugh.
I love that. Okay, and so then the fourth tool is volunteering or serving others.
Yeah, so building resilience is about drawing on both our inner strengths and our outer strengths. And volunteering is really cool because it simultaneously builds up both. So if you think about outer strengths, connection is one of them, and the sense of community is one of them. And so inherently, if you're volunteering, you are serving a community, but you're also building a community in the people who are you're volunteering with. And you're learning to build connections to people who are perhaps very different than you, either have a different life or a different belief or whatever it might be. So it's really a way to teach our children about sort of give them a broader worldview while also giving them a sense of connectedness and community. And then there's the inner strengths of character. So with volunteer work, we're talking about teaching our children values and valuing giving and service in and of itself. But depending on the area of volunteer work, there's probably other values that we're giving our children that are building their character. And volunteering really gives our children a sense of contribution. So there's a lot of talk about gratitude out there, and gratitude is really, really important. But gratitude is a response to something external to ourselves, whereas contribution is something that we ourselves have created. And so we're finding that a sense of contribution is really important to being resilient as well. And naturally, in doing volunteer work and making somebody else feel good, or building a house, or giving away toys, whatever it might be, the child, again, gets a sense of control of my actions have an impact, and then they can see how they're making the world a better place around them. So there's a lot of power in that activity.
Wow, I love that distinction between gratitude and contribution. That's a really great way of looking at how volunteering can impact how kids see themselves.
Volunteering probably builds gratitude as well. You know, you see different circumstances and you learn to count your own blessings. So it encompasses a lot of different traits and strengths.
So those are 4 great tools for families to start building resilience right away. Let's shift to families who might be going through something now, who are kind of struggling with a hardship that they're having and who haven't necessarily built a strong, resilient foundation. What do you recommend that they do now? Where can they start?
Yeah, so there's a lot of wonderful resources out there for resilience and for families who are facing something. And of course, our colleagues in psychology and therapy are wonderful resources who have a wealth of information and ways to support families going through this. There are a couple of books that get at resilience and how to build it in our families. So the first is Option B by Sheryl Sandberg. She's the Facebook executive whose husband unexpectedly died. And so in that book, she kind of talks through rebuilding and resilience in the face of that loss. And then the other book is called Building Resilience in Children and Teens. And it's actually put out by the American Academy of Pediatrics and authored by Dr. Ginsburg. So it speaks a lot about some of the things that we touched on in this interview and more. And then for those parents who are looking for something a little bit more personal, a little bit customizable, I do actually have sessions on Parent Circle on creating a resilient family. So that's an opportunity for parents to spend an hour from the comfort of your own home online with other parents who have shared experiences or shared interests. And it's just a safe space for us all to learn from and support each other.
And so the Parent Circle platform is something that parents can do from their own home. They can find a time that works for their schedule, and they just log in. Are they able to see all of the other parents that are in the group? Yes,
exactly. Yes to all of those things. So, it's built with a parent's life in mind. So first of all, recognizing that it's hard to get out of the house to an appointment. It's sort of a virtual support group that you can do in your pajama pants on your couch. And we have members all across the country. And so it's offered weekdays, weekends, morning, evening, all different times of day. And it's done through a similar platform to what we're doing right now so that we can see everybody's face as we're talking and sort of get a sense of community. And I've been really impressed, even though it's occurring through a computer, at some of the things that people are willing to share and the degree that they open up, and then that always allows for the rest of us to walk away with some tremendous insight. So it's a really powerful platform.
And as a coach, what's your role during this session?
Yeah, so I view my role as a facilitator of the conversation. So I do have some expertise in the area, but this is not meant to be a session that you come to and have somebody talk at you or for me to lecture. It's really about me, asking questions to the group to get some conversation going. I try to do a lot of active listening to pick out themes or things that I'm hearing are really important to the people on the session, and keep the conversation moving. And we do talk through tools and ways to support each other, with the goal being that you come out of that with at least one thing concretely that you can do, just in the next week, to work towards building a resilient family.
Well, thanks so much for all of these great tools that we can start using today to help build a resilient family. I think it's important for parents to remember that, we don't have to do it all alone. We can build a family structure that's about teamwork and resilience and help support each other and grow together.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us on the WeGo Kids Parenting Web TV Network. If you love this type of content and are a real parent raising a future world changer, subscribe now at parenttalk.tv. And away we go.